Once you've downloaded the software and installed the copper LAN MIDI device, click Emulator Modular to continue. In order to make a good interface, you will need to take the time to plan out your layouts and pages. Start by thinking about which features you use the most in your software and how you would feel most comfortable using this as a touch interface. Plan your layout carefully and write it down on paper. You will have a total of 6 pages to put every button and feature possible into your dream interface. Take the time to plan your layouts carefully. After you open Emulator Modular, register the software. If you choose to use the demo version, the software will shut down without warning after a limited time. You must be connected to the internet to register. Clicking the Wall feature will bring you to the classic Wall app available on Emulator for Traktor. This includes a drawing pad with photos, images, a clear button, and color for your text, and also an invert button if you're using the Emulator dual view system. Click the main to escape. Now click the Modular button, and after it opens you'll see the main screen of Modular with the buttons along the bottom. The first 2 buttons on the bottom left represent the 2 surfaces available for Emulator Modular. For example, you can have a layout for Traktor and Ableton, Serato and Virtual DJ, or 2 layouts for the same software. The 6 buttons to the right are 6 pages you have for different interfaces. Each surface has 6 pages available. Main button takes you back to the main screen. Alright, starting to create your dream interface. To begin creating your dream multi-touch interface, right-click on the black background and the Modular Editor menu will appear. This menu contains all the tools you will need to create, construct, and edit your interfaces. You can see a list of pre-made objects like buttons, sliders, knobs, XY pads, encoders, decoration, and other tools. Every object has a list of properties like label, angle rotation, opacity, radius, color palette, toggle, and friction. If the object supports MIDI, you can choose the MIDI channel, MIDI CC, MIDI notes, etc. Modular Editor and how to create objects. Right-click on the black background to open the Emulator Modular menu. Once the menu is displayed, click Button option. A list of buttons will appear. There are 2 pages of buttons. Select the button you want to make and hold Shift and click where you want to place the button. You can change the parameters of the button in the menu. You can change the label. You can change the rotation of it by entering the degrees of rotation. You can change the opacity or how bright it looks. You can also change the radius to give it a rounded appearance. You can change the size of the button by holding Shift and pulling one of the corners. Now we explain the basis for building your interface, the Construct feature. Transparency. Click the Transparency button on the Editor menu to allow you to see your underlying software to be controlled. In this case, you'll notice that we're able to see the desktop. So we'll need to get out of Emulator by clicking that button there, and you'll open Traktor. You'll want your underlying software to be in full window mode, not full screen mode. If the software is in full screen mode, Emulator will not align the holes properly. This is incorrect. Make sure you're in full window mode. Go back into Emulator Modular and let's begin. Subtractor. Subtracting holes in Emulator allows you to see pertinent parts of your underlying DJ, lighting, production, or video software. This is vital to allowing you to see the information you need while allowing you to place buttons and faders where you don't need to see any information. In the case of Traktor, we will need to see the waveforms. In other applications, other information will be important. Once you have your underlying software visible, click the Shape R button. R is for rectangular and C is for circular. Press Shift and click where you want the hole to be cut. Manipulate the hole to fit a section of the software you need to see. For example, waveforms, track selection, etc. You can copy and paste by simply using Control-C and Control-V as any other program. One feature of Emulator Modular that we didn't discuss is the Easy Align. At the bottom of the menu, in the bottom right, there's a button called On-Off for Easy Align. This allows you to grid where things go. Once you have it aligned, click the Subtract button. The Subtract button will cut the holes and create a visibly brighter area. The area that's bright is actually a hole that you can reach through and manipulate and move things from the underlying software. Because you'll want to create similar holes on multiple pages, you can copy them to other pages by pressing Shift on the hole before you hit Subtract and Copy to. So let's make another hole. Now click Copy to, choose the page you want to copy to, and now hit Subtract, and both pages will have this done. In the same way you created the holes, you can fill in a hole by using the Merge function. Use the shape R or shape C to create a shape, place it around the hole, and click Merge. This fills in the hole. Click Transparency to take a look. One other feature you'll want to do is decorate the holes. For example, the one on the right here, we'll want to put a decorative border. So under Decoration, click Border, and we'll want to put a border. So hit Shift, click, and then move the border over the hole. What you'll notice is it's very difficult to move that over the hole. That's because you're trying to move a modular button over top of the actual underlying software. This is very difficult and does not work. What you can do in this case is click the Block Holes feature. The Block Holes feature temporarily blocks the hole so you can manipulate borders and decorations. Once you have your border, you can unclick Block Holes, and there you go. This brings us to another powerful feature of Emulator Modular that you will need to use, Float. The Float button is very similar to Copy to, except it will automatically float the object to every page. This is important for things like volume faders, buttons, knobs, and other specific objects. Instead of copying the object to every page, Float takes the object from one page to another as a floating button, knob, or fader. The object that is floated is only on the page you have open. It is not on every page, even though it appears to be. If you move an object that you float, it will automatically return back to its original location. If you need to move a floated object, you can unfloat and use the Float to Any function. So let's show this as an example. The slider that's red, select. Now click Float. What you'll notice on every page, that red button has been copied over. It's actually not copied, it's floating from page to page. So what that means is on page 1, if I put the volume up and go to page 2, the volume will be up on every page. In opposed to this, let's use the blue fader. Select the blue fader and select Copy to, and copy it to page 2. And you'll notice it's copied over. If I go back to page 1, put the fader up, and then go to page 2, the fader does not copy. Now, we're going to go to the Float to feature using the pink fader. Click the pink fader and click the Float to button, and then click the page you want it to float to. Page 2, for example. Now on page 2, if you put the volume up, you'll notice on page 1 the volume's up. But if you go to page 3, that fader's not there. Going back to page 1, using the yellow fader, we're going to describe the Float to Any feature. So click Float to Any and choose another page. Now, what you can do with this one is move that fader on the second page. Put the volume up and now go back to page 1 and the volume's up. You cannot move the fader on page 1. This feature is very handy for things like Ableton, where you have different layouts but you still have main volume controls and other controls that you want to have in different positions on different pages. Saving your layout. Before you get too far into your design, you will need to know how to save your layout. You can call your layout whatever you want. If you want a specific layout to open as your default, simply call it default. To save, open the Emulator Modular editor, click Save As, name your file whatever you choose, and then click Save. This will save the template layout to C:\emulator/modular/surface directory. The files have an extension of .emu. For example, default.emu will open the default every time you open Modular. If there's something you do not understand, please feel free to comment on our online forum. The more you discuss there, the more everyone will learn and help each other. The forum is found at smithsonmartin.com/forum. You can share your creative layouts with other members of the emulator community on our forum under the appropriate software topics.